Welcome to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle, LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off is a public interest forum that encourages your voice to be heard on the topics and issues impacting our local communities. We invite you to be part of the conversation by calling or texting 219-362-0522. You may also email your questions to soundoff at 967theeagle.com. This is a topic-based program, and we ask that you keep your comments brief, concise, and related to the topic being discussed. The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the hosts or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media, LLC, or the sponsors. The on-air line is now open for your calls or texts at 219-362-0522. And now, Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
And welcome to Sound Off on this Friday. Stan Maddox here. Our guest today, we have a guest in our studio. It's LaPorte County Commissioner Joe Haney. So give us a call on our Sowers GMC on-air and text line, 362-0522. Joe, welcome to Sound Off as always.
Thanks, Stan. Glad to be back.
So we're getting to that time now. It's almost the start of the LaPorte County Fair. Everybody always enjoys the LaPorte County Fair. Any thoughts? A lot of work's been done to keep improving the fairgrounds from year to year.
We have. So we've every year there's more improvements. There's you can't do everything at once, but every year we do a little more. One of the things that a lot of folks have asked about is what's going on right across from the fairgrounds there on Ziegler Road. There's a kind of a cutout area in the tree line there, and a bunch of millings have been put down, and that's been smoothed out. So that's kind of where the 4-H fair folks who have the horses and stuff are at. Rather than use campgrounds on the other side, they use that area so that they're really close to their animals. That way they can go back and forth and do the feeding and watering and checking on them that they need to. So we've spent some time clearing that area out even more and making it a little more hospitable for them so that when they're in there. So some of the stuff that the fairgoers see pretty easily. Some of it you hear, some of the improvements to the sound systems and whatnot. Some of it like that, though, if you're just coming into the fair and you're not looking the other way, you may miss some of those other improvements that are there. But there's a lot of infrastructure issues that we've been working on over the past several years.
Yeah, in all sorts of areas. Water, sewer, new 4-H barn, the new 4-H barn this year. That's going to be another new feature, and lots of other things going on as well. So what's coming up in future years, do you think, in terms of the infrastructure?
There's a lot of good visions that we have for it out there. One of the things was maybe trying to get some kind of covered pavilion for a horse and pony area that would allow some more events throughout the year. That would be a major undertaking, though, and that's something that we've got to look into and study a little more deeply. But things like that, there are other, like I said, some other infrastructure things that we have going on. For example, we replaced some sewer line out there for the community buildings. Last year, there was an issue with a little bit of sewer backup there. We were able to get that all taken care of, and all that's back in order. Obviously, we're going on second, or is this now the second year for the new bathrooms that were put up out by the grandstands area, which also doubles as a tornado shelter just in case. There's been a lot of improvements, and we're continuing to go along and do what we can. We had some renovations to the grandstands out there, So yeah, it's been good, and we'll keep our eye to the future on exactly what we can do moving forward as well. But like everything else, budgets are tight, and there's only so much we can do in any one given year.
Yeah, budgets could be even tighter because of what the state did with the property tax reform. That legislation, of course, passed this year. Steve Hollyfield, Commissioner Hollyfield, says maybe $2 to $3 million in lost revenue each year for the county. That sounds like a huge chunk of change.
Yeah, that's so. this Department of Government Affairs has put out some numbers, and has some other entities, the Association of Counties, for example. So yeah, it looks like we're going to be losing about $2 million a year, and then I think on year 3 or 4 we could ramp up to $6 or $7 million. Loss, perhaps. It's we definitely need we still need property tax reform in Indiana. You look at a lot of the assessed values. There's a lot of areas around LaPorte County have gotten hit hard. Certain areas like Trail Creek 2 have just been absolutely decimated with increases in assessed value. We really need to look at something, and I'm not. I get where the legislature was at. I don't think this was we'll see how this plays out, but I don't think this was a good solution for anybody, be it homeowners or local government. Homeowners are going to be saving, I think, something like that on average about $300 a year. $300 a year is good, but when it comes to property tax reform, especially with the way assessments have gone up, $300 a year for most folks is barely taking a dent off the increases that they've seen over the past several years. So we need to cut property taxes significantly, and at the same time, we need to the state needs to realize that the amount of money in taxes that they're taking in, they're not cutting, but they're cutting what local government's getting, and I have no issues whatsoever with local government tightening their belt. We certainly can. At the same time, though, the state needs to realize that you can't just dump this off and have put the local governments on a starvation diet, and the state's still raking in as much cash, if not more than ever. I know they were talking about this year, a $2 billion drop from anticipated revenue, which. There's some numbers there that may be, but they still didn't cut any of their rates to get that. What they're looking at is anticipated forecasts of slowing economy and greater inflation and slowing things down and all the other things that go into that. So it's troubling to me to see that it was. The legislature had a chance to do something really good this year, and they didn't. So I'm hoping that next year's not a budget session technically, but I hope that they take another look at it. They can do something to help people's property taxes, as well as something that's not going to wind up with increasing taxes from our local municipalities. Yeah,
you mentioned Trail Creek. They actually have a meeting this afternoon with somebody from the county assessor's office to get an explanation on why their assessed values are going to go up again by 13, 20, maybe even 30%. I guess one guy I talked to, his has gone up by over 13%, and he said some people have seen much larger increases in their assessed valuation just from the previous year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so that's going to be at the DAV in Michigan City at 4:00 today. I'm going to try and get up there this afternoon as well as be present for that, and hopefully we can get some good answers out of the assessor's office. That's another thing that the legislature needs to take a look at is these unrealized gains on property. Right, so like the valuation of my home, where I'm living now, we've lived there 11 years, and the valuation of my home has gone up about 60% in 11 years, and no doubt my house is the value's gone up over the past 11 years. But the thing is, that with that going up, my property, how that affects my property taxes, versus the standard deduction you get for homeowners exemption and stuff, my property taxes have literally doubled in 11 years. So I'm paying twice as much as when I moved in 11 years ago. And that's just, how do you plan for something like that? As far as any members of the public, regardless of whether you're still, working age, have a regular job, whatever type of fixed income. And, you hear fixed income a lot. Fixed income doesn't just apply to seniors. Like most working folks in LaPorte County are on a fixed income. Right? They work, you work 40 hours a week, you get paid, whatever your hourly wage is. Maybe you get lucky to get some overtime here or there, but your income is fixed, unless you're going to, go from working your 40, 50 hours a week and pick up another job, making another, working another, 10, 20 hours a week. Like, most folks are on a fixed income. And this is, it's having a decimating effect on everything. It affects your discretionary spending. It affects the amount of money you can spend going out. Like all of our local businesses here, how often can you go out to eat, right? And it affects every aspect of our lives. And I really think we've seen other states around the country have taken a much harder look at property taxes, and I think we need to do that here as well. There needs to be some sort of when you buy your home, maybe they lock in whatever your tax rate is for until you sell your home, or ownership transfers, or something pegged into as well, your mortgage, things like that. Caps for seniors, perhaps military veterans as well. But it's something. It's something we need to look at for everybody, not just special groups. But of course, we have the certain groups that are hit significantly harder. So,
if lower the property taxes, but money has to come from somewhere else, right? How would you propose to replace the lost property tax revenue? I mean, we're hearing all sorts of things about user fees, creating toll roads from interstate highways. What would you like to see done to replace that lost revenue?
It's a very complicated issue, and in some instances, use fees are good. If you're using something, then you're getting a direct benefit from it directly, and then you can pay based upon that. At the same time, use fees need to go what they're going for. So we look at certain issues like like gas tax, right? Every municipality, including the state, likes to play some shell games, right? So Indiana has one of the highest gas taxes in the nation now. We're as bad as Illinois. Of course, everybody makes fun of Illinois for their high taxes. Well, look at our gas tax; it's ridiculous. You can look at the pumps out here today. It's like $3.39 here in La Porte right now, and a huge chunk of that is gas taxes. Well, when they pass some of these gas taxes, so new gas taxes go directly to the roads, but they've clawed back some of that funding that was originally allocated out of the general fund. We need to. That's holding folks accountable and trying to make sure that they don't play these games. And unfortunately, it's not as easy said than done. And I think one of the biggest things and one of the things that I think would be crucial here to help Indiana at all levels is to get a recall feature in to be able to recall elected officials at any level. If they start violating their campaign promises and do other things, and the people feel like it's significant enough, we need something to get a little bit of teeth into things, because you get elected for let's say a 4-year term, you do something crazy 3 months in, then you're stuck with that person for the next 3 3/4 years. We really need something like that for the state. I think it would help to really get politicians on track and hold them accountable directly to the voters.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's get to that first call real quick, then we'll take a break. You're on Sound Off with Commissioner Joe Haney.
Hello?
Go right ahead.
Oh, hey. I was just wondering, talk about revenue, and I need my taxes down too. But how about like Chicago made I'm thinking about $92 million on traffic cameras alone. I'm not sure about that figure, but they're making a lot of money on that. How about we get these evildoers or these bad actors or whatever you want to call them without, offending anybody? Why don't we get them to pay for this stuff? I mean, I got people breaking laws all over the place. You got fireworks going on, scaring the hell out of everybody. Nobody seems to stop that. You got marijuana use in all the parking lots in Walmart. You got people on cell phones. I think that law was enacted right around 2020. No cell phones in driving. Oh, my God. I can't find anybody that's not on their cell phone and driving through stop signs, speeding down Ohio Street, bad driving. I mean, let's get some revenue there. Let's put some traffic cameras in. Let's get these people that are abusing our system pay for this. How about that?
Okay, thanks for the call. What are your thoughts? Traffic cameras.
So, if you actually look at some of the studies on traffic cameras can actually increase accidents, especially red light cameras. They can increase accidents as far as people stopping short or trying to fully beat the light so you don't get caught by it. So I'm not a fan of traffic cameras. one of the things that you have to look at both sides, right? And if you start policing for profit, that can cause all sorts of problems. One of the things that especially that I love, anytime, even before I got into politics, you see a sheriff's deputy rolling around, you feel good to see the sheriff's deputy out on the road, right? You don't feel like, oh no, it's the cops, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? What are they going to bust me for? So I want people to see law enforcement and be happy to see them out and about, and to know that they're there not, to nitpick through certain things. So, policing for profit is not something I'm in favor of. At the same time, if somebody's doing something egregious, there definitely should be penalties for that. And when you look at some of the, and I don't have the numbers right here in front of me, but when you look at some of the things like writing tickets for cell phone use and stuff like that, a big chunk of that money when a ticket gets written goes directly to the state. The municipality that writes it only gets a very small percentage. So, and I don't remember exactly what it is, but something like 20% maybe goes to the municipality that writes it, and like the other 80% is going to the state for different stuff. So as far as raising money for locals, a lot of that ticketing stuff, it really isn't generating as much revenue as most people think it is. Now, obviously, you have a couple of, speed trap cities, throughout Indiana, that, are writing, a couple dozen tickets per shift per officer, and then that is a way that they can generate revenue. But do you want to live in an area where you're having to if you're driving 34 miles an hour in a 30, you're going to get pulled over because they want to make that coin. There are ways to do it, but generally speaking, I when it comes to taxes,
Okay.
I think that's the easiest way. I see the sign there. We need to go to break. So.
Okay. Well, let's take that break. We'll come back to Sound Off after this.
Auto Park wants to buy your car. It's quick and hassle-free. Sell us your car, truck, or SUV now at Autopark.com. Autopark.com. Any year, any make or model, any condition. We'll give you top dollar for it. This is not a trade offer. Sell your vehicle to a trusted friend today. Message us and get a quote now at Autopark.com. Do you have service coming up and don't want to pay for it? Just tired of your vehicle and want something new? Or if you just want to get out of your current vehicle, Autopark is ready to buy it. For a quick and easy, hassle-free experience, contact Autopark today. Bring it in, call, or get a quote online at Autopark.com. This is not a trade offer. Sell your vehicle to a trusted friend today. One price, one person, 1 hour. That's the Autopark way at Autopark Automotive. Autopark.com. Autopark.com. See dealer for details.
There's more than corn in Indiana. There's a great resort where you can plan a vacation. That's a lot of fun for each at Indiana Beach.
Indiana Beach season passes are now available. With unlimited access to our water and amusement parks, you will be able to enjoy past benefits that include Bring a Friend days, free parking, our summer ballroom concert series, lodging discounts, and more. 2 great parks, 1 low price.
Don't wait. Get your Indiana Beach season pass today.
For more details, visit IndianaBeach.com. See you at the beach.
You know your weekend sports updates on 96.7 The Eagle all weekend, every hour from 11:30 to 9:30 following ABC News, covering the latest in sporting news with current scores from across the country. Provided by ABC Sports and brought to you by Giggles Boutique.
This look at the weather on 96.7 The Eagle is brought to you by Exquisite Detailing. From basic washes, waxes, ceramic coatings, paint correction, and vehicle wraps, Exquisite Detailing does it all. Call them for all your personal, recreational, or commercial detailing needs. 347-582-1962.
Michiana weather.
Daytime highs approaching 75 this afternoon under overcast skies with a chance of rain showers. From the Weather Center at HometownNewsNow.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley. Right now, it's 72 degrees.
We're waiting to hear from you. Dial or text 362-0522 and let us know what you think. That's 362-0522. Back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
And welcome back. Again, our guest today, LaPorte County Commissioner Joe Haney. Give us a call. Our Sowers GMC Haney text line, 362-0522. We got some text messages here, Joe. Somebody says that's how government does people. Make a tax cut, then raise your assembly or add a wheel tax or a lit tax. So your $300 you save on your property taxes, now you're paying $1,000 in other taxes.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like might wind up happening. I don't envy the council over the next year or two on how they're going to tackle this. That's going to be it's going to be a tough time to be a councilman. And everybody in government, for all the department heads, but especially the council as they look and try and drill down on a budget that's as large as our counties. From the commission standpoint, we have our budget that we need to look at and drill down into and see what we can do there. But trying to also roll that out, because that's the council's that is literally the council's job, is finances and budget. So that's going to be tough. And they're right there, yeah. It looks like if the county wants to get our CMMG or CCMG, the community crossings grants, which we just completed. We're just wrapping up that project here in the county, but it's $1 million and change a year that the county gets from that. And if they're going to hold it over our heads that we don't get that $1 million for paving unless we pass a wheel tax, what are we going to do? Thus far we've held off on doing the wheel tax, because and that's another issue that I have with some of the stuff down at the state. Like, all of us here in LaPorte County are paying this money in taxes, right? We're paying the money at the pump. We're paying the gas taxes. We're paying all of our taxes. And all that money goes down to Indy. And then Indy wants to hold it over your head and say, hey, you're not getting your money back unless you put in an additional tax. That's crazy. I mean, these are the things that, as a Republican, as a conservative, as a small government guy, lower taxes, here in the state of Indiana, we've railed for the past 4 years against the federal government and all their top-down mandates of doing these different things and holding, dangling all this money over our head to try and get some of the money that we paid in back. And now the state is, mirroring that with this wheel tax debacle. It's really unfortunate to see. Again, I think they had a chance to do something really good this year, and it just turned into this 1,000-page thing. We had one of our local state rep, Jim Pressel, told us right at the end of the session that there was no wheel tax mandate that was going to happen. And then, and if they can slip that past the chairman of the roads committee, obviously, there's not a whole lot of people who are actually looking and reading these 1,000-page bills, because they don't just happen in Washington; they're happening right here in Indiana now. And it's one of the things, you get too comfortable with that. It's time to get back to basics. And I hope that this next legislative cycle, they certainly do that. They get back to basics and they realize that, Indiana's done well, and people are moving here from these other neighboring states because of what a climate that we did create and the way that we foster good business, family values, things like that. And now we're going the opposite direction, and we need to stop that. Otherwise, we're going to be chasing people out of Indiana, and we're not going to be attracting people. So it's going to be time for all of us to get back to basics.
Okay, somebody, of course, this is probably more of a question for like Jim Pressel or somebody like that, but they want to know what the $2 a pack cigarette tax increase, it starts in July. Who's that going to help? Do you have any insight on that?
I don't know. I don't smoke. I really don't pay attention to that, and at the county level, we don't have anything to do that. Taxing vices is a tricky business, right? It would be my hope that nobody smokes. At the same time, the state's generating a ton of money in revenue off of people who smoke. So you don't want people to smoke, but at the same time, you do want them to smoke to bring revenue into the state. It's kind of a double-edged sword there. It would be my hope people just stop smoking, and if you want to smoke, it's free country, do what you like, but it is what it is. Okay,
somebody saying get the LaPorte County Jail out of the city limits.
I'm not opposed to that, and when at some point we're going to have to build a new jail. It's not going to be in the next year or two, anything like that. But at some point we got to build a new jail, and it needs to be out of city limit. Well, at least out of downtown for sure. Out of city limits, I have absolutely no problem with that. That would be fine unincorporated, but it definitely needs to be out of downtown LaPorte. and be out of any downtown in LaPorte County. It's just you don't need a jail in the downtown area. So yeah, absolutely, we're that would be my goal and hope. That's probably not going to be in my term where that comes up in the next over these next 4 years, but. We definitely do need to move that, and preferably the entire complex out of downtown LaPorte, so we can free that area up and have a little more space and have kind of everybody centrally co-located together.
Yeah, when do you think the need's going to be to actually have a need for a new county complex or a need for the new county jail? Recently, there's been talk about these leaking showers and getting that fixed, mm-hmm. and some say the perfect fix would actually cost about $4 to $5 million. But right now, you guys are going to take it one shower head at a time to see where that leads you, to see if the leak gets fixed at a much cheaper cost. When is the need, do you think, for a new county jail or a new county complex?
So I think the need for the new complex was when we had the flood. One of the things that I brought up, one of the things that I mentioned was gutting the entire inside of the half of that complex that was the county offices, the non-jail side. Gutting it, basically down to the stud, so everything's dried out. Use it as a little bit of a storage area or whatever. Take a check from the insurance company, a lump sum check from the insurance company, and start building another complex somewhere else. I think that would have been. Now, of course, obviously that boat sailed. We put like $17 million into that side of the complex. So. I don't know that we're going anywhere anytime soon with that. On the jail side, we're looking at that $4 to $5 million would be completely replacing all those showers. I don't think we need to do that, but we do need to have an expert come in there, take a look at it, and figure out exactly what we need to do to seal those up. And not all of them are currently leaking, and we need to get in there and figure out exactly which ones are, and make sure that we're putting in the right fix. The fix that we did on the one out of those 17, that we've been looking at, the one that was done, it looks like that's a good fix, and things are holding up right now, but it's only been a week or two, right? So, how is that going to work long term? How is, because we've done different types of smaller patches and fixes over the past several years trying to fix some of this stuff. And that, unfortunately, that any multi-story jail is just not something that's good. It's not safe for our corrections deputies that are in there. Or it's not as safe as it could be, I should say. I mean, it's as safe as it can be for a multi-story jail. It's just that type of multi-level thing is not the standard today. You want pod systems and things spread out, where you're not having to move inmates in elevators and stuff like that. So I think sometime over the next 4 to 8 years, we're going to need to start the conversation and start looking at, where are we going to put a new jail. At the same time, if we get enough land, because we do own some land right now next to the county home, that could be, it's a perfect. That would be a great area. It's outside of city limits. It's across from the fairgrounds. We already have a bunch of stuff now. We also have property there by the fairgrounds. There's a lot of that land that's not developed. As well that we already have. If another thing comes up like Summit Farm, we should have the county. I'm not in favor of government buying property. However, when the state was getting rid of that land up by the Summit Farm, the county probably should have bought that. That would have been a perfect centrally located area right between Michigan City and LaPorte to have a complex, to have a jail, and a bunch of other stuff. That would have been fantastic. But that slipped past us. There may be another good opportunity like that to look at. But, yeah, getting that stuff out of downtown ultimately is the right thing. And then, of course, keeping and maintaining our LaPorte County Courthouse. It's one of the nicest courthouses in the state. So,
all right. Well, I'll tell you what, we got to take another commercial break. Stay with us here in Sound Out.
Surf Internet is celebrating 25 years of delivering fast, friendly, and trusted fiber optic service. Stay connected with unlimited data, free installation, and no throttling. Ever. No surprises, no long-term commitments, just reliable internet backed by local customer support. Join the celebration and get fiber internet plans starting at just $30 a month with AutoPay. Visit surfinternet.com today. Surf Internet, 25 years strong, fast, friendly, and trusted. Restrictions apply. Not all speeds available in all areas.
Water Park, the splash has
Deep River Water Park is now open for our 30th season, and we've lowered all admission prices. For starters, splash Monday through Thursday for only $30, and 3 special events are only $15. Check out DeepRiverWaterPark.com and subscribe to our e-news.
Deep River Water Park, it's simply splash-tastic. Hey!
Hi, everyone. I'm Craig Orndorff. On the next weekend in the country, we're heading back to the middle of June in 1984. When Ronald Reagan was in office, the LA Summer Olympics were coming up, and Ghostbusters was at the movies. And on the radio, we were listening to the first big hit by the Judds, along with hits by Vern Gosdin, Eddie Raven, Ann Murray, and Alabama. We'll have them and more on the next Weekend in the Country.
Weekend in the Country, Saturdays 8 to 10 on 96.7 The Eagle, sponsored by Robert Tillish Appliance.
What are you waiting for? The lines are open on Sound Off. Text or dial your questions now to 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to LaPorte County's original social media. Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
And welcome back to Sound Off. Our guest today, Commissioner Joe Haney. We got a phone call to take. Let's take that call right now. You're on Sound Off with Joe Haney. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah, I'm here. I have a question about Airbnbs and Burbos. They're starting to increase significantly in LaPorte County, and they have a negative impact on homeowners. They decrease their value. They make their homes harder to sell. I wonder when the county is going to consider taking some lawful action prohibiting temporary rentals like Airbnbs. Thank you.
I know there's been conversations being had around the county surrounding that. It comes down to a property rights issue for all the parties involved, the people who want to rent their property, as well as the neighbors there who have to deal with certain things that are there. So one of the things I wouldn't mind the Plan Commission taking a look at would be putting up some guardrails around these short-term rentals, so that any complaints that come in, substantiated complaints, things like that, there is enforcement action from the Building Commission that's able to take a look and come in and say, all right, you've had 3 complaints over this period of time. You lose your ability to do a short-term rental for the next X number of months, whatever it is, or fines associated with it, something like that, to be able to, because I've utilized Airbnbs, and VRBOs across the country over the past, probably at least 15, in one capacity or another, almost for the past 15 years since they started. I love utilizing them. They're great. They can help a lot, especially when you have a family, being able to, have rent basically a full functional house, cooking and stuff and everything. So definitely serve a great purpose. But a lot of these other communities, we don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. We can look to other areas to see what have they done to make sure they put up some guardrails. Because some of the Airbnbs that I've stayed in, they've had very strict rules for, like, hey, look, if we get in trouble for this and you sign an agreement as one of the short-term rentals, that if there's a complaint there, we get fined. Whatever the fine is, that fine comes back directly to you when you're signing this agreement. So the property gets dinged with the fine, and then the property owner is the one that's responsible for then going after the person who rented it to pass that fine on to them. So there are definitely ways that we can do it, and that's something that I look forward to hopefully the Plan Commission taking up at some point to get an idea on this. Again, I don't want to see them banned by any means, but at the same time putting up just some guardrails so everybody wants good neighbors, and whether you're a short-term renter or not, just be a good neighbor.
Yeah, we don't want to have too many party animals. If you're living across the street from a Airbnb and you got 50 people in there and they're all partying, I could see why you'd complain about that. Let's take another call. You're on Sound Off with Commissioner Joe Haney. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a call back on the Airbnb, and my issue is not complaints about them being too loud or whatever. My issue is the value of my property being adjacent to an Airbnb is being affected by the Airbnb. People don't want to buy the property, which makes my property worthless. I mean, the Airbnbs, actually, the people who own that property are in the minority. Probably 99% of property owners in the county are not Airbnbs. So I would think that the county should support the majority, and the majority are non-Airbnb property owners. What are they going to do to protect the property owners? That's what I want to know. Thank you.
Sure. So, again, that's one thing that the Plan Commission can take a look at. Another thing is that, we don't, we live in America. We don't live by mob rule. We live in a constitutional republic. So, you have to protect the rights of everyone. We don't live in a place where, 51% of people can take the other 49%, the other 49% of the people's stuff. We live in a constitutional republic, so we have to respect everybody's rights. And property rights are very sacred for both sides of this argument. So, simple majority mob rule type of thing. We see mob rule happening right now out in California and Los Angeles. Where people are taking the streets or burning cars or doing all kinds of crazy stuff because, they're not happy. I know this is a far cry, but, the simple thing is, we live in a constitutional republic where property rights are sacred. And if you want to infringe on the rights of someone else, and this goes both ways, for both sides of this argument, you have to look at it that it's not just a simple, a simple majority or even a major majority. You have to look at, our government was set up to protect the individual. And, the smallest minority is the individual. So, we have to take a balanced look at both sides of this.
All right. We got a listener who is telling you thank you for the food trucks that were set up at the courthouse in Michigan City yesterday. And food trucks are right here in downtown LaPorte today.
Yeah. So this is a great thing that was set up and coordinated by our HR department. To have food trucks come out, kind of camaraderie for the county employees as well as the public, come down and visit and kind of see folks, the government employees in a more relaxed kind of luncheon environment. And so today the food trucks will be out there till it's either 1:30 or 2 o'clock today, right next to LaPorte County Courthouse. Definitely 1:30. I think it might be 2 o'clock though. They'll be out there till. But definitely come out and see us. When I get done here, I'm going to head over there and grab another bite to eat. I grabbed a taco off the taco truck that's out there, and when I go back over there, I'm probably going to grab myself an empanada from La Isla Dominica, those Dominican street food truck. They have some of the best empanadas I've had this side of South Miami. They are fantastic.
Wow, sounds like some real gourmet cuisine. What is there, like 7 food trucks, right? Right there, just north of the Hyler building.
Yeah. So kind of just across the back side of the Hyler building, right next to right across from the complex and the jail there. There's at least half a dozen trucks out there. So like I said, the Dominican street food truck, they don't just have empanadas, but they have other foods there as well. I'm just really partial to their empanadas. Taco truck out there as well as a couple others. So there's fried dessert trucks. You name it, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, fries from a fire truck.
Yeah, fries from Fire Fries, I think is what they're called. I haven't tried their fries, though, but I saw a bunch of people have them today, and they seem pretty happy with them.
I'm going to have to try those. Fire fries. Sounds great.
It does.
All right. We got about a minute to go, Joe. Anything else that you want to talk about or bring up before we got to wrap things up?
I guess the shortest thing would be they're going to there's rallies all across the country tomorrow, one of which is going to be in Michigan City. And I want to commend the folks who have been kind of protesting and demonstrating in LaPorte County in Michigan City these past couple months. We had a Republican dinner, a Lincoln Day dinner, and there were some, a couple dozen Democrats who turned out to protest the lieutenant governor being there and Congressman Yocum. And they were very peaceful. They, stood there, they held signs, they did their thing, but they didn't disturb, they weren't disturbing anyone. They were very peaceful, very respectful. And the last time that there was a rally up in Michigan City, I think it might have been No Kings as well. They were respectful and stuff. This was about a month ago. So I want to commend them for being out there, being respectful and everything else. With everything we've seen across the country these past couple of days, though, understand that LaPorte County doesn't tolerate that sort of stuff. This is Indiana. This is in California. So I would encourage, whoever's going to be out there tomorrow doing their protesting or demonstration, please continue to do what you've done in the past. Peaceful demonstration, holding signs. They've had some chanting and stuff, but that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. That's 100% your right, and it always makes me happy to see people demonstrating, regardless of whether or not I agree with them or not. Right?
Where are they going to be in Michigan City?
By the Michigan City Courthouse. So, I would encourage any of those folks who are out there demonstrating, if you see, bad actors out there trying to get into your mix, don't provide them shelter in your ranks. If you see things getting crazy, pack up and go home for the day. That way law enforcement can, if something were to come up, I don't think so. We've had things go pretty well up there, but the rioting, looting, things like that just won't be tolerated here in LaPorte County. Again, they've been fantastic. You do got to give them kudos where kudos are due, and they've been good. These past couple times they've had events, but we just given the nature and the climate of what's been going on this past week, we can't tolerate that here in LaPorte County.
Okay, great. Well, Joe, as always, thanks for coming on Sound Off, and look forward to your next visit.
Great, thank you.
All right, that'll do it for Sound Off. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us and voicing your opinion on this edition of Sound Off. The views expressed on Sound Off are those of the host or callers and do not represent the opinion of 96.7 The Eagle, Spoon River Media, LLC, or the sponsors. Sound Off airs live every Monday and Friday, immediately following Update 12 News, and is available online after the show is over under the podcast menu at hometownnewsnow.com. Mark your calendar and join us again for the next edition of Sound Off, right here on 96.7 The Eagle.